Now to read the small print on these charts. Emanations are radioactive light units expelled with such great force directly through lowering opposing pressures that they become luminous, as meteorites become luminous from plunging directly through rising opposing pressures. Luminosities, heat, and high potential gradually lessen as light units find their orbits in their proper potential positions and float spirally and centrifugally through lowering pressure zones. They eventually impact against the inertial plane, where they become general-active, positive, non-luminous light units, following centripetal orbits to the nuclear center of the next lower potential. All energy is caused by a disturbance in inertia. The energy impact against inertia is the cause of motion. The energy constant of first cause is registered in waves of varying dimensions of the same constant. The one source of energy is non-variable in its constant. Variability is an illusion of dimension. Energy expresses itself in pressure zones, which increasingly resist the disturbance of inertial repose and violently assist a return to that state. Energy locks itself into varying potentials. High potential discharges into the next lower potential. The pressure zones cause an orderly orbital lowering of potential to inertia where energy is regenerated. A sudden lowering of potential would cause an explosion, a flame, or a luminous streak. And the name of this chart is called The Formula of the Locked Potentials as Applied to the Law of Emanation Orbits. And I don't know if you can see all the little tiny words inside this chart. And I'm looking at them and I see them and I don't understand them. But they're little words like positive charge, regeneration by impact, magnetic resistance, magnetic assistance expands, regeneration, orbital acceleration, by impact, orbital deceleration cools. I wish you had this chart where you could see it really good. So I'm going to go to the next chart now. Now this other chart that was on page 17 that I've shown you before, I'm going to reread that. It says all direction is curved, all motion is spiral. And this is the law. General active and radioactive lines of force depart from each other at 180 degrees. And gravitation center of rising potential is marked by the X. Anyway, I'm going to read what it says under here, because all this little print you won't be able to see it anyway. Mass is an accumulation of the universal constant of energy into higher potential. The greater the mass, the greater the potential. Mass accumulates inductively along the centripetal lines of closing spirals and is rotated by the impact of general active force. Mass dissipates conductively along centrifugal lines of opening spirals and is rotated by the expulsion of radioactive force. These opposite forces are the cause of rotation of mass. By a study of the charts, pages 17 and 83, which I just read to you what was on them, it will be seen that when magnetism returns to negative systems, it does not return as negative electricity. It impacts against the inertial plane between itself and the system, is regenerated and reconverted into negative electricity after it has made its centripetal journey to the apex of its spiral orbit with ever-increasing pressure, and starting on its centrifugal run with lowering pressure back to the inertial plane. Charging systems are simultaneously discharging, but their positive charges become increasingly preponderant and dominant until the consequent increase of potential changes the dimension of the system. They then appear to be another substance. Discharging systems are simultaneously charging, and their negative discharges become decreasingly dominant until the consequent lowering of potential changes their dimensions. When they have readjusted their various dimensions, they in their turn appear to be another substance. Charging systems are preponderantly generative male systems, while discharging systems are preponderantly radiative female systems. Charging systems are exactly balanced by discharging systems. All systems are divided into 7 tones of energy. One charging tone and its exact mate in a discharging tone balance as 1 unit constant of energy. There are 4 exactly equal unit constants of energy in each octave. An octave is 1 universal reproductive constant. 10 octaves constitute 1 cycle. Tone 1+ is a charging system exactly balanced in all its periodicities by tone 1. Likewise, tone 2+ is balanced by tone 2-, and tone 3+ by 3-. Tone 4++ is a double tone which is neither positive nor negative. It is bisexual. These 7 tones of 4 unit constants make up the total universal constant of energy, which is omnipresent throughout the entirety of this universe of mind. Consider, for an example, of positive charge attracting positive charge, the sun of our solar system. It is the nuclear center of this system, the point of maximum positive charge. It is therefore the high potential point of the system. Consider this planet. It is a doubly charged mass, which means that it is both positive and negative. Its preponderance of positive charge is always toward the nuclear center, which means that it is always toward the light. Its preponderance of negative discharge is always away from the nuclear center, which means that it is always away from the light. The positive charge of this planet is therefore preponderant in that portion which is in daylight, and the negative discharge is preponderant in that portion which is night. The daylight portion of the planet is generative and endothermic, which means active, contractive, and heat-absorbing. The daylight portion is that in which the potential is increasing, where flowers open their petals and relive, where life is regenerative and wide awake. The dark portion of the planet is radiative and exothermic, which means inactive, expansive, and heat-expelling. The dark portion is that in which the potential is lowering, where flowers close their petals and become dormant, where life is devitalized and fast asleep. Just so with all the other planets. The positive charge moves around them as they revolve, ever keeping as near as possible to their positive nucleus, the sun. It is a well-known fact that high potential discharges into lower potential. Consider the radiative rays of the sun as negative light units expelled by positive contraction, which forces them to seek lower pressures and lower potential. It might be argued that these negative rays are attracted by the positive charge of the daylight portion of the planet. Consider the law of pressures as stated elsewhere, which says that between any 2 masses is a line or plane of equalized pressures. As the light units which constitute the ray circle spirally and centrifugally around the sun in their search for lower pressures, exactly as this mass of light units which is our planet circles around the sun, they continue to expand and become increasingly negative the further they recede from the sun. It must be interpolated right here that light rays do not proceed directly from the sun to a planet in straight lines. They follow the orbital lines of lowering pressure exactly as does this planet. All direction is curved, and every curve is a part of an orbit. When the light units which we familiarly term light rays reach the inertial plane of equalized pressures between the mass of the sun and the mass of this planet, their expanded masses impact against it and continue beyond it in an ever-increasing state of solidity.